Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, people of Earth. Welcome to the FKN NEWZ with me, Deke Jackson, on the 12th of November 2021, also known as the middle of time. All is now, then is not. There is no past, no future. There is only now, which is why it's important to enjoy now. And much as I'm a big fan of the positive mental attitude and, having something within me which gives me joy and gets me, to enjoy life no matter what, I can't help noticing the piles of shit that we are wading through here on planet Earth. Honestly, it's beyond knee deep. The unvaccinated are to be locked up in Austria, European Western democracy. Not China, not North Korea, not some strange banana republic with a crazy general for its leader. No, Austria is to begin locking up or locking down. It's a euphemism, really. You're to be made to stay in your home. You're only allowed out for exercise. It sounds like prison, doesn't it? You know, where you're locked up and you get out for exercise. Sounds a lot like prison. That's 'cause it is. Good morning, Sergey. Locking up the unvaccinated because they refuse a compulsory medical procedure. Funny that. I'm sure it reminds me of something. Oh yeah, fascism. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of fascism because that's what it is. Austria, of course, as historians will know, is the birthplace of Hitler. So, they've got a kind of resonant historical thing going on there. It's too late to complain. It's too late to campaign. It's too late to protest. That should have happened long time ago. I mean, even before the fucking spectre of medical tyranny appeared on the horizon. No, the time to campaign was when they were giving you rights. Actually, the act of saying, we're going to give you some rights, is actually the act of taking them. Somebody who says, we are giving you rights, is really saying, we control your life. Your life is ours to control. We're giving you these rights because we control which rights you have. That was the time to complain, campaign, and protest. When people were giving you things you already had, whilst at the same time, everything not on that list, they were taking from you. So, locking up the unvaccinated in Austria. It's no surprise, really, because, Europe's got a bit of a hard-on for locking up people. They lock up migrants in camps. Does that sound familiar as well? These people are different and they come from somewhere else, and so we put them in a camp. Now, one of my questions is, how long before we're not just locking up the unvaccinated in their own homes, but maybe we should transport them on those army trucks to the medical facility just outside of town until they see sense, until they come round to the idea of having that drug. It's not a vaccine, it's a drug. The British Medical Journal says so, and the definition of vaccine was changed to accommodate mRNA drugs and claim that they were vaccines. Some people will tell you, lots of them in fact, in newspapers and on the media, they'll say that we're suffering from an epidemic of the unvaccinated. They do. I've read it, I've heard it, I've seen it a lot. And if you ever hear this, I suggest you immediately say, it's funny that, because Israel's got nearly 100% vaccination of its entire population, and they're about to give them their 4th shot of the drug because of the number of people who are still being hospitalized and getting infected with coronavirus. Don't get me started on the origins of coronavirus, which is now known to absolutely have been made in a laboratory with money provided by American medical and political celebrities. Dr. Fauci, I'm thinking of you, amongst others. The Obama administration and the French government helped fund the building of the lab, and the research to make bat viruses infect human was conducted with money supplied by foundations funded by Dr. Fauci. These are all facts. This is not I'm not some David Icke fucking loon telling you about 5G lizards and fucking Bill Gates microchips. Honestly, Bill Gates has not got the fucking the nonce, the wherewithal to do this shit. Bill Gates is a wanker. Bill Gates is a tech nerd who got lucky with his operating system, became rich, and has spent 20 years wanking his chinos off to his office workers. Bill Gates is not the Bond baddie here. Trust me, Bill Gates, fucking microchips. Really, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm giving you the straight dope. A virus made in a laboratory purposefully to infect humans was released, accidentally or otherwise, place your money now, the wheel is spinning, and as a result, governments around the world, because they signed treaties with the World Health Organization, are being forced to coerce, corral, manipulate, badger, and legislate so that everyone have the drugs of giant pharmaceutical companies and have their identity registered digitally on probably a blockchain, I suspect, although, we'll have to wait and see how the global pass thing works out. Speaking of passes and medical apartheid, Mr. de Klerk, the president of South Africa, who ended the practice of apartheid, has just died. So it might be interesting to go over what apartheid was. Apartheid was where they treated a certain group of people differently. First of all, they stopped them being allowed to go certain places. They issued them with a pass, and they created pass laws in South Africa. A pass law meant that if you were one of these different people, you couldn't go to the cinema, the cafe, the pub, the swimming pool, or even certain areas of town because you weren't allowed, because you were different. You weren't allowed to work. You would be barred from certain jobs if you were that kind of different person. Does that sound familiar? You had to stay in certain places while other people got to go wherever they wanted, and you were less likely to be employed, and you were more likely to be beaten and arrested by the government. Does that all sound familiar? That's medical apartheid for you, happening now in Europe, happening now to not brown people, not terrorists, not jihadi migrants, happening to white, Western, corn-fed, pizza-eating, car-driving, everyday mortgage-paying people locked in their homes because they refuse a drug from a medical company that, according to Dr. I think I said his name wrong yesterday, Dr. Peter Doshi. According to Peter Doshi, the trials on these drugs are rubbish. In fact, they haven't released all of their data. Google this. They have not released all of their data. Most of the world is still just fucking regurgitating a press release. A press release. That's what we're founding the medical apartheid and the tyranny of fucking alleged pandemic laws on. Press releases. Press releases saying, oh, this drug will do such and such and such and such for the pandemic. But again, let's think about Israel here. 100% vaccination of the population, now injecting them for the 4th time. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the people of Israel will be having a 5th, 6th and 7th injection of these drugs because they're not vaccines, they don't work, and even officially the story is that if you've had this drug, it doesn't stop you being infectious. It doesn't stop you getting infected. It doesn't stop you spreading the infection. All it does is slightly lower the symptoms that you will suffer. That's a therapy. That's night nurse. That's what that is. That's night nurse. That's a hot toddy. This is not a vaccine. And therefore, making everybody have it is no way of controlling the pandemic. In fact, there's no way of controlling this pandemic because it's a virus that has an animal reservoir. It's here to stay forever and is going to kill people in a certain number every year from now on. Mostly old, sick people. Something to look forward to there. I plan to keep warm during the coming ice age by burning dead, old, sick people on the open fires in my shanty town on the outskirts of big cities where they keep the unvaccinated. In America, doctors received an email saying that they would have their license removed if they spread any anti-vax information. That is a way of coercing. The best hope we've got for, if you like, whistleblowing on this shit is medical people, because who are you going to trust if they're telling you that the medical experts all say X, but a bunch of medical people come out and say no, no, no. Why? I tell you, it's why. Why would you take a drug whose trials do not support claims that they are efficacious? Why would you take a drug which is known to have negative side effects and that is still actually in a trial period and will be in a trial period for many years to come? Why would you take a drug, the definition of vaccine of which was changed to accommodate? I don't know why you would do that. Anyway, lock up the unvaccinated in Austria. Great. In other news, at the COP26, which is finishing today, thank fuck, and it says here, this is the last day, right? They still haven't done anything. They really haven't. There are no agreements of anything meaningful or significant in terms of cutting emissions. And even if you wanted to cut emissions, right? Even if you cut emissions to zero, the stuff we've already put into the atmosphere is the problem. It is. And there's nothing in COP26 about direct carbon capture. Nothing at all. There might be the odd fringe stall here talking about how it will be a good idea to do that some time in the future. And the fossil industry thinks that it can get away with still producing fossil fuels if it produces a technology magically out of thin air that it attaches to cars to take the carbon out as you drive to collect your pizza. So the headline here says, it's now or never on COP26. Well, we're fucked then if it's now or never, aren't we? Because never seems to be the preferred option. It does. Never. Let's never do anything about it. Let's talk about it. They love talking. They've got things here. They're seeking more action. That's one of the things they've agreed. America and China. Big headlines overnight. America and China in a historic accord to join together to seek more action. Wow. Seek more action? Well, that's hardcore, man. I'm going to go out and seek some action also. I've been seeking action. I go out at the weekend to the clubs seeking action. It's great fun. Another thing they talk about are initiatives. Yeah, we've agreed a new initiative. A new initiative. Ooh, that's great. What about commitments? The commitments they talk about. That's not an Irish soul band, by the way, when they talk about the commitments that they're discussing. The thing about COP26 and previous COPs, the Paris and the Copenhagen, in fact, in general, the whole IPCC treaty, non-binding. None of these commitments, these are not like treaties in the international sense where, wars could be fought if you don't live up to your commitments. No, these are non-binding agreements, as in you don't have to do them. And if you don't do them, there are no consequences. There are no sanctions and no consequences if you do not live up to your commitments, if you do not carry through on your initiatives, or if you do not find any of the action that you were seeking. No consequences at all. So pretty much a toothless talking shop. And if you wanted evidence of the totally fucking bankrupt, empty rhetoric of politicians on the subject of climate change, I give you Nicola Sturgeon. Right? Nicola Sturgeon, she has so far refused to join the Beyond Oil and Gas Alliance, a group of countries who are going to stop developing fossil fuel industries. They're going to stop looking for oil and gas. They're going to stop developing coal mines. Scotland, under the SNP and Nicola Sturgeon, have not joined the Beyond Oil and Gas Alliance. Okay, it's a coalition of countries to set up targets to phase out oil and gas production. All right, and the reason for that is, if you were to ask Nicola Sturgeon, well, Nicola, what's your plan for Scotland's oil? Remember, it underpins claims to Scotland's viability as an independent nation. What's your plan, Nicola, for Scotland's oil? The wee fucking cranky will tell you, I'm going to use it as lubrication, as a fuck yous all. That's Nicola Sturgeon's plan for Scottish oil. Just to lube up your assets as they fuck you in the assets. Right, what else have we got in the news? This newspaper actually, it's a bit thin on actual news because most of it is about sleaze in Britain, which is it's a given, isn't it, that governments are lying, murdering scum. I mean, I don't really see any point in, it's like raking over the coals. Husband of Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe is on a hunger strike, another one, to try and get the British government to do something about his wife. Oh yeah, Nazanin, he is the husband of Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe, is being held by Iran. He says he's going on another hunger strike. He will continue his hunger strike following the next meeting, but said he will end the campaign shortly. I just can't help thinking, I'm looking at a picture of him thinking, he's the fattest hunger strike person I've ever fucking seen. Man, I mean, I'm not on a hunger strike. I think I've got a few pounds less on me than him. If he's been on a hunger strike, what's he eating? Sugar-coated fucking nothing. I'm just saying, if you're gonna go on a hunger strike, push the boat out a bit. You know what I mean? Get yourself skinny. Blah blah blah. Sleaze. Oh, COP26. A ban on the single use of plastics. Oh, that's pointless, really, isn't it? I mean, I know I don't want plastic in my lobster any more than the Queen does. I really don't. I want a plastic-free lobster is on my wish list also, but it's not going to change the emissions and the consequences for the planet in regard to climate change. Here we go. Analysis by Jeffrey Lean. Oh, warring nations unite to fight invaders from outer space. China and America have come together to fight the threat of climate change. They have. It's great news. Hurrah! Wave a flag. The initiative. Oh, it's an initiative. So that's meaningless shite. Has provided hope. More meaningless fucking words. Hope. A hopeful initiative. We may yet avoid global heating. They're calling it heating. Have you noticed that? It's changed from global warming to global heating, as if we're not afraid enough. Soon it'll be global inferno, global foot roasting. China will try. We're going to try an initiative of hope. Blah, blah, blah. Working together, helping to secure. Blah, 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 blah. The US-China relations fundamental to climate negotiations have been at loggerheads since 2009. The Copenhagen summit, which failed, and the Paris Accord, which has none of the countries have met their commitments, their non-binding, non-consequential commitments. I mean, why would you? It's like borrowing some money and the guy saying, look, if you don't pay me back, it's okay, I'm not going to do anything. In fact, why don't you just keep the money? Blah, blah, blah. Talks could still fail. Well, there you go. And last president of apartheid, F.W. de Klerk, dies aged 85. He apologizes. He apologizes to the millions who suffered. How many million unvaccinated people are there in Austria who are about to be locked down for not having the medical procedure? I apologise to the millions who suffered forced removals. Medical facility on the outskirts of town, anyone? The shame of being arrested for pass law offences. Vaccine passports, please. And who suffered the indignities and humiliation of discrimination. Can I see your pass, please? You're not coming in. You're not unvaccinated, are you? It's too late. It's too late. When they were giving you rights, you should have been suspicious. In Scotland, health and care leaders have backed Scotland's coronavirus vaccine certification scheme being extended. There's an undeniable relationship between transmission in the community and what happens in the care sector. That is mandatory vaccinations. Gillian Pierce, it will be interesting to see what happens to the infections when they can't blame the undrugged. It will be, won't it? Just like in Israel, where they can't really blame the undrugged because there's nobody who hasn't been drugged. Or that town in Ireland, I believe its name is Waterford. Waterford, a town in Ireland, it has 100% vaccination and the highest levels of coronavirus in Ireland. It's funny that, isn't it? It's funny that should be going on when everybody's had the vaccine. Would make you suspicious, wouldn't it? Vatican official makes satanic vaccine remarks. This is not helping. I mean, you know, I consider... I've got some bad things to say about the drugs they're making people take, but I'm not going quite as far as the Vatican. However, you can't really blame them, because if you've only got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And therefore, if you've only got the, you know, the fundamental dichotomy of good and evil to deal with the world, you know, if that's how you see the world anyway, when you don't like something, it's probably satanic. You know, oh, I got a really satanic pizza last night. It was cold and 20 minutes late. Satan was at work. So, you know, if your whole world is kind of coloured by the idea of God and Satan fighting it out for the everlasting souls of mankind, or humankind, you probably do think the vaccine's satanic. Alali. What we got here? Mandatory vaccinations. The Daily Mirror, which is a left-leaning newspaper that supports the Labour Party. Mandatory jabs. Jabs. Mandatory jabs. I don't want a jab. Thank you very much. Don't jab me. Mandatory jabs are nothing new. Healthcare staff doing certain procedures need to have a hepatitis B vaccine. Yeah, if you're cutting up somebody's body, if you're cutting somebody's chest open, you know, I'm all for, like, if there's a danger of you, you know, you dribbling your blood into my open chest cavity, hepatitis B. However, respiratory, just don't come to work if you're ill. If you've got a respiratory illness, just stay at home for a few days. You're only actually infectious for a few days. Not a lot of people know this. There's an infection curve, right, for coronavirus, right? Imagine that's the infection curve. Infection, the ability for you to infect people begins, right, a couple of days after you get it and as the symptoms appear. And then within 2 or 3 days of having symptoms, even though you are still having symptoms, your illness, the coughing and wheezing and headaches and fever, that's your immune system killing shit. Your immune system's probably going to kill you if you're going to die from a respiratory illness, because it's your reaction to the illness that kills you, not the illness itself. So after a few days, you know, as your symptoms have peaked, then your viral load goes down, and probably after, you know, 5, 6, 7 days, you're not infectious at all. Google that shit. Stay at home. If that's, I don't want you working in the hospital anyway, even if you've got the flu. Some argue that it's different, as people who went into the profession knew they had to have the jab. But we are where we are, says Eva Simpson. Yeah, where are we, Eva? Where are we, Eva? When night nurse is compulsory, when brand new night nurse cooked up in a fucking overnight in a laboratory staffed by fucking rapacious profit mongers is being mandated for your employment. In some ways, it's remarkable that requiring staff to be vaccinated is even controversial. Oh, says Francis Ryan. I don't know how that's even controversial. Well, I guess it could be controversial because there are known, although, you know, statistically low amounts of people who die. They die from it. It's not without harm. This drug is known to have statistically low. You know, I'm not a rampant nutter. I understand that millions of people have had it and still alive, but then some of them have died. That's not a fucking choice I'm going to make. That is not a decision that I'm going to accede to. This might kill you. Oh, well, I don't bother. No, you've got to, or I'm going to sack you. Well, fuck it, I'm leaving. Really? Yeah, this might kill you, but it's probably not, but it might. Oh, fucking hell. Why do I have that? It might kill you, but you might be all right. You'll probably be all right. But it's the law. You've got to have it, and it might kill you. Can I just say no? Yeah, but if you say no, we're going to lock you up and ban you from public places, travel, work, leisure, entertainment, shopping. But I don't want it. It might kill me. Yeah, come on now. Don't be such a baby. Loads of people have had it and they're not dead. But some people have died, right? Yeah, but, you know, not many. But. Does anybody else think this is really fucked up? Really? It might kill you. I don't want it. Well, we're going to lock you up. But. Extinction Rebellion were going to give a talk to the army in Britain. But at the last minute, the army decided not to bother and they cancelled the talk. This is the article by the guy who was going to give that talk, saying what he was going to say. This is what he was going to say. The military, in the future of a world that is rapidly heating and suffering the consequences of global heating, they would face hard choices. The army may be asked to close borders. What, like in Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, Greece, right across the whole European border where the army is closing the border. The army may be asked to close borders to crush dissent. What? Where they are in many places around the world, like, you know, Syria, Egypt, Morocco, Jordan, to name but a few. Saudi Arabia, Pakistan. To impose martial law for fear of social breakdown. Would they do that? I mean, what's the army for? He says the army, he goes on a sort of romantic, sort of quixotic fucking tangent here, saying the true calling of the warrior is to preserve peace. No, it isn't. That's not the true calling of the warrior. I tell you, Celtic warriors in the tribe, when some other fucking band of territorially, infringing Celtic tribes people came onto your territory, when the Celtics called upon their warriors to go out and sort stuff out, it wasn't to preserve peace. It was to defend territory. That's what warriors historically in human societies do. Defend territory, not preserve peace. Peace is a kind of naturally occurring absence of friction and conflict. Oh, look, we're at peace. Those warriors must be really doing their job. No, what's happening there is nobody's fucking shit up. Warriors are not preserving peace when peace is happening. That's just humanity, just like, isn't it great here? Everybody okay? Yeah, good, all right, sorted. Let's get on with the bongos then. No, a warrior's job is not to preserve peace. A warrior's job is to fuck up other warriors. Warriors sent into your territory or into your life by, other people intent upon causing trouble. And here we have, speaking of the army and borders, a Belarus leader threatened to cut off gas supplies to Europe if sanctions are imposed over the migrant crisis on the country's border. If you're familiar with this, Russia, through its proxy power Belarus, is busing migrants to the European border and catapulting them over so that we have to look them. Here, you love crazy Muslims. Yeah, you love crazy Muslims. Here's some more. Got some more crazy Muslims for you. Fresh from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. Here they come. And Europe, of course. Europe loves crazy Islamic migrants, don't we? We really love them. We'd love to pay for them, feed them, take care of them, look after them, and let them be blamed for terrorism and then used by the government to pass laws, increasingly tyrannical laws over us, because of all of the crazy Islamic Muslim terrorists who got into Europe and ran people over with buses and stabbed them in the high street. So the police have to read your mum's email and you have to have a microchip inserted in your anus because fucking crazy Islamic Muslim migrants came here. Yeah, we love them in Europe. Can't get enough of them. Multiculturalism, apparently it's called. And you've got to love them. You're not allowed to not like them. Not liking them is bad. I converted to Islam, in fact, so more people would like me. Because it occurred to me that, hey, you've got to love Muslims, haven't you? You've got to love that religion that wants to stone women to death and kill people who don't believe in God. You've got to. And more of them are arriving every day. Thanks, Putin. Belarus says, the gas pipe, right, the Nord 2 gas pipe from Russia, which supplies a huge amount of gas to Germany and Poland. Belarus says, we are heating Europe and they are threatening us, he said, referring to the Russian gas pipe running through Belarus. What if we halt natural gas supplies? I recommend the leadership of Europe and other empty-headed people to think before speaking. In a further escalation, 2 Russian nuclear bombers rehearsed bombing runs in Belarus. Blah, blah, blah. I don't think it'll come to that. I'm not sure that nuclear bombing the border would be a really wise idea. I'm sure Putin is just flexing, you know. Yeah, but you know, shit's going down there. And if you, the time to complain has passed. The time when you could complain, campaign, protest, that was long, long ago. In fact, I don't know how old you are, but it was probably, for many of you, that time was before you were born. We have in fact been failed. We've been failed by a generation of people who took the check from Walt Disney. They did. They bought into industrial consumerism. They bought into lives of low credit, training shoes and consumer gadgets, video gaming, bigger televisions, cheaper credit, mortgages for all, the idea that the party could go on and on forever, and it was your right to enjoy the party. While our party went on at the expense of the rest of the planet. We pissed in the ocean, we farted in the sky, we chopped down the trees, we shat on every part of this planet's fucking environment and ecosystem to make a world of plastic fucking diversion for generations of people who wanted to ride their fucking pony into a sunset as the music played. La, dun, 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 hi ho silver! And now your chickens are coming home to roost, because the only way to keep this shit going is to enforce tyranny. That's right, this shit is not going on and on and on with happy chickens roosting in their fucking synthetic barn-fed haylofts for a shot at pecking the fucking grain millet. It's not. This shit is going to get bad. If you don't think it's bad enough already, you're not paying attention. And if you don't think it can get any worse, you lack imagination. I assure you, we have only just started. This isn't even the thin end of the wedge. This is them scratching at your anus for an opening so they can ram the cock of lies up it and then fuck you in the assets. I swear, people, enjoy yourself while you can. If you're one of the unvaccinated and you're not yet locked down, I suggest you avail yourself of the facilities of the plastic world you live in as much as possible, because you're about to not be allowed to go there. Because coronavirus isn't going away. It has a vast animal reservoir. It's never going away. The drugs, vaccines, don't work. Dun, 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 dun. The drugs don't work. And therefore the infection will continue to spread. Governments across Europe and America, oh, we just don't know what to do. Oh, the infection is still spreading. And you, the unvaccinated, will increasingly become the subject of their ire and the focus of their efforts to curtail the pandemic, which isn't a pandemic. It's the escape of a new respiratory virus into the community, which we're just going to have to live with. We, the unvaccinated, the people who won't comply, the people who won't behave, they will start taking back those rights that they gave you. Remember, at the beginning of the show, you should have been complaining when they were giving you rights, Because people who are giving you rights are actually saying, we own your fucking life. We are giving you these rights. Therefore, we can take them away. And that is what is about to happen. Freedom. Freedom. The freedom of association, the freedom of movement, freedom of expression. Those aren't freedoms. Those things were given to you by tyrannical overlords who control your life, and they're going to be taking them away. Actually, I've already had mine taken away, having been banned repeatedly from the from the public forums of Twitter, Facebook and YouTube so many times. And my freedom of movement, I'm not allowed, I wouldn't be allowed to work in the NHS or the care industry at the moment, according to laws recently passed. I'm not allowed to fly anywhere at the moment. Soon I won't be allowed on public transport. I'm not allowed into a disco at the moment, or a football match, or a club, or a nightclub, or a concert, which is a bit of a bummer because I'm a musician. So the freedoms the rights they gave me, they are now taking from me because they gave them to me, and they are tyrannical overlords of my life and your life. And if you don't believe it, I suggest you press your face up against the wall. Go on, press your face up against that wall. Go somewhere and try telling them, no, I'm flying to Spain, I'm not vaccinated and I'm flying to Spain. See how easy that is for you. Go to Austria. Go to Austria and try wandering around if you're unvaccinated, and see how the Austrian police deal with you there. Shit's gonna get weird. I mean, I know it's weird already, but it ain't weird enough for me yet. We have a long way to go, until they're piling you onto that truck to take you to the medical facility on the outskirts of town. And newspapers and fearful people are cowering in their homes thinking, my goodness, I never knew they were unvaccinated. It's awful. How dare they be unvaccinated? They were threatening my life. That's how it's done, folks. That's how it's done. You were threatening somebody else's life. They will pelt you with rotten fruit as you are dragged off screaming to the medical facility on the outskirts of town. It's a free world. Well, I'm off to do something fun. I don't know what that might be because it's raining. But you know, I'm sure I'll find something to do. I've got a lot of fun stuff to play with thanks to the rape of the planet for the last 100 years. So I'm going to make the most of it. Remember, there are millions and soon billions of people who can't wait to get into your prison. They can't wait because their prison sucks even more. So if you were having trouble enjoying your prison, spare a thought for the people who'd love to get into this prison and enjoy our facilities. Hey, we've got great facilities. Many of us have got television and the internet in our own cells. We've got great, great outdoor facilities. Some of us are even allowed to the cinema or the disco. So make the most of it. Enjoy it while you can, because tomorrow is going to suck a bit more, possibly quite a lot more. I'm not sure. Tomorrow could suck a whole lot more. It'll definitely suck a little bit more. It might suck so much that you wish you were here today enjoying yourself. Thanks for watching.